Welcome back. If you aren't already following Naked, please take a minute to do so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Each follow means so much and it actually helps a lot. If you have more than just a minute, it would be absolutely incredible if you could leave a review and maybe even share an episode with a friend. I am relatively new to the pod world, especially new to the things that are important in the podcasting world. And apparently reviews and follows are up there on the list of importance. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Welcome to Naked, where stories unfold. I'm your host, Janelle, a once former pastor's wife who exchanged small town living for a nomadic life. The unexpected change in our life led my husband and our 4 kids to traveling the world. From years of being rooted in our small town to the thrill of wandering the world, our story has been anything but ordinary. On our journeys, we've met amazing people, learnt their way of life, and heard their unique stories, which has led me to understand the profound impact of shared experiences. In each episode, we explore moments of transformation, guided by one single question: is there a time in your life when everything changed? We invite ordinary storytellers like yourself to share the often unexpected turns in life. So grab a seat and settle in. This is the Naked Podcast. I remember being 13, an age that came far quicker than I ever expected or kind of really ever wanted. I was happy playing Barbie dolls, living in a world where mud pies and bike rides were my top priority. But without noticing, my body started to change, and as it did, I became more and more aware of all my growing parts. I started to see myself differently, notice the things I had never seen until that moment. The way the clothes hung on my frame, I became kind of awkwardly aware of the way I moved in my skin, conscious of my body, a place I'd always felt at home in until it began to feel a little unfamiliar. Being a mom of 3 girls, I've had the opportunity to see them grow, and they now all passed their 13th birthdays, and I've seen a familiar look in their eyes when they notice their bodies changing. Each one of their journeys has been a little bit different, and they navigated this growth in their own unique way. But the common thread, we all grew from these tiny toddlers into being women. Like the magic of a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. It's beautiful, but often this morphing magic in ourselves isn't one that we celebrate. Instead, we get caught in the spiraling thoughts in our heads telling us everything that we aren't. For me, this became my truth at a very young age, that eventually spun into being obsessed with everything I ate. Purging and withholding became a part of my everyday life. Throughout life, I have met many women with a similar story. Self-love truly is a journey. In this podcast, my dear friend Dominique shares her story about learning to love and accept herself and develop a healthy relationship with food. She is a woman full of compassion and care, which is why she has chosen the courageous step to share her story with us. I am so grateful that she is here today to shine light on a topic that so many of us struggle with for a variety of reasons. So welcome here. If you are someone who is struggling with an eating disorder or know someone that is, know this: there is help. So please reach out to someone you can trust, and if you're unsure of who to talk to, please check out the links in our description. There are lots of support for you. We are sending you a big giant hug today. Thank you so much for being here, my dear friend, who we met randomly in Nicaragua at the top of a hill on a tree casa. We were just like hanging out. And I think we passed you, and Lexi was like, "Oh my gosh, look at that girl's hair. It's gorgeous." And then she's like, "I got to meet her." And then it just kind of all unfolded. And it was like, we just adopted you guys, and you were in our home, and we got to do so many things together. And life has, it feels like so much has happened between then and now with your travels and our travels and where life has all taken us. But I am so delighted to have you here. I mean, we say this all the time. You're just like, you find family along the way, and it's like we just adopted you and you became family. And I feel like it always will be that way. You'll just be able to pick up wherever we left off. So thank you for being here. I am so grateful every time someone says yes to being here on Naked, because I know that it's, I remember my first time I shared my story, I was like, my heart's pumping out of my chest. And I'm like, you just feel all these things. And so I just feel so grateful that you're here and with us today. And so before we get started, maybe you can tell people a little bit about who you are and what you're doing. Just to a reference about your wonderful self. And this is Dominique, by the way.
So hi, thank you so much, Janelle, for having me and creating this beautiful space for us to first connect here, because I feel like it's been a while that we see each other, and you were the best thing that happened to us in Nicaragua for sure. your family was the pure light and guidance and mentorship that we needed as we started our own family now. A bit of our background. I speak as a we because Eric and I, my husband, started to travel ago. We decided to sell everything back in Montreal and start this journey of discovering who we are in a different settings of what we always knew. And we traveled. We started to started a wellness journey as well. So I started to teach yoga, being to wellness and more. I also started a company in Montreal back in Montreal called Behaviours. I'm also an entrepreneur. I have this flame inside of me that is just burning always. And we 8 months ago gave birth to a beautiful baby girl called Livia Rose. That is the entire light of my world. That for my perspective of life, my yeah, everything. And yeah, we are in Mexico right now. It's our actually our last week here in Mexico, so we're going back to
Wow.
Montreal. I don't know if I told you, but yeah, we are leaving. We decided to leave the good for the great once again and not renew our contract here in Mexico. It was a total blast. It was amazing. We learned so much, and we decided to pursue something else, another like whatever is going to come in our way. We kind of open ourselves to the magic of like being open, being available for something else. So we're going back to Montreal, seeing our family, and then we'll who knows where we're gonna go.
Wow, what an adventure. And have you found it to be like with having a little one? I mean, never, we started off traveling when Ellie, our youngest, was 8, but having a baby, how have you found that transition with, I think people would be so curious, being like, okay, you started off this journey as a couple,
Mhm.
and then now you've incorporated your little wee one. How has that like been for you with teaching yoga and like finding rhythm, and how has that, yeah, changed things for you guys?
Well, first of all, you know how before becoming a mom, everyone keeps on telling you a lot of advice, which are always welcome, but it's always from their perspective and their reality, which is not our reality, which everyone has a different vision, a different way of life. And for us, when baby Livia Rose arrived, she was now part of our world. And the most important thing for us is to give her the best life possible. And for us, our belief is to travel, to meet international souls as we are, to connect with people, to bring settings that can grow. So being here in Tulum, Mexico, living by the beach is amazing for her to wake up every day with the sunlight, to be the feet on the ground, just to have this jungle type of beach type of life. And of course, we are always learning our way with her because she's our best teacher. But I really feel that she's now in our life and we are kind of doing the same that we were doing before, but with her with us. So we can show her, look, mommy and daddy are working out. Look, mommy and daddy are teaching yoga or yoga with her, with us. So she can really embrace all this energy that we feel is the best for her, for
Mm-hmm.
us, for her family.
So you just kind of like, she's just kind of woven into your life, just like it
Yeah.
always was. Yeah.
Yeah, I was working alone. Now I'm working with baby Livia Rose.
Yeah.
And obviously, this is, I think, the best learning of all time. We have to go with the flow. So sometimes when the is not right, and when baby is like, no,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not quiet. I just want to play. We just not trying to force it. Just
Yeah.
give it a pause, be with her. And whenever the flow sometimes just goes on and she's with me, I can be super productive. Yeah, so we are really incorporating her into our life.
Into your life. Yeah. That's
That's
amazing. I think,
a dream come true for
yeah.
real.
I remember
Yeah.
we first met, you're like, I really want to have a family. And, you know, like the idea of traveling with kids can feel like out of this world, impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it really depends on the person and the lifestyle
It
that you
is.
feel that you need to lead. But when you
Mm-hmm.
are, you know, doing, you feel like you are doing the right thing and you are kind of in that place where
Yeah.
it's like, no, we feel very fulfilled in
Mm-hmm.
this. And then bringing a
Mm-hmm.
child into that, then you make space to not like, I was always a parent when my kids were little. I didn't really run by um, uh, schedule so much. I was just like, they're gonna sleep where they sleep. They'll sleep in the car seat. They'll sleep in the stroller. Like
Yeah.
they'll sleep, And some people find that very frustrating, and they need to have like really um, a lot of guidelines around how their day unfolds. And I
Mm-hmm.
just was like, oh, like they're just gonna have to come along for the ride,
Mm-hmm.
And then they do teach you. I feel like kids are some of the best teachers where it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
no, they teach you to see things differently. They teach you to pause because they want to play,
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
they're like some of the best teachers, I think. And
Mm-hmm.
as long as we're looking, we're taking notes. I feel like
And
we can learn so much from them.
every baby is different, every parent is different, and
Yeah.
all of our intuition. And I feel I want to mention this because when I was pregnant, I started to make a lot of research and wanting to learn everything to be as much prepared as I could. And I realized how this is all intuition.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel that the intuition that you what's best for baby is to, like, be more doctor, then be more. If you you go with the flow and bring your baby every year so your baby is adapt, well, that's the right thing. There's no right or wrong as long as you're
No.
really tapping in this intuition. And I mean, we've been giving birth for years and years and years without any guide, without any dictionary.
Yeah.
I guess that's for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Totally. To lead
Yeah,
with your heart and like your knower and like intuition, and
yeah,
just let that be your guide, because
yeah.
and right when you think you figured your child out, you have another one, or they grow and you're like, oh, I'm figuring this out all over again. Because you can have, like we have 4 kids and they're all very different.
Mm-hmm.
And what worked for them was very different for each kid. And so you're like, right when you're like, oh, yeah, you're like, oh, no, this is an entirely different human that requires different, different things.
Yeah.
So it's just a constant learning game, and I think as long as your mom like leading with
Mm,
your intuition is the best way you can go about it.
yeah.
So,
And
and
also, I will just add this because I've been hearing a lot of noises of, oh, I wish I could do this, but I can't because I have kids. I feel like when I hear that, it just like squeeze my heart. And no, you should be doing this because you have kids, because you have, like, don't let it be that reason not to do it, but the reason to try it, to give it a try, and to be
mm-hmm.
able to try something. Maybe it will fail. Well, guess what? At least you tried, and you can always come back. But yeah, I think, like, traveling, so many people told me, oh, I wish I could travel, but I have kids. I understand that everyone has a different, like, background and situation. Don't let it be something that holds you back. Just go
Mm-hmm.
go with it. Yeah, do it.
Yeah, trust that a bit.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
totally. Well, I'm so happy that, yeah, like, it seems like it's just woven together and you guys are having a great time and you're on to a new chapter and a new season, which is it. Like, I think in this lifestyle, you learn how to say goodbye and you learn how to say hello, because there's a lot of
Mm,
that in the
mm,
journey, and you hold people
mm-hmm.
tightly while you have them, and then you kind of hold your hands open, like, I'm until we meet again, kind
Yeah.
of a thing. Yeah, which I feel like I'll see you again one day, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Oh, that's something that I am convinced that is
Yeah.
no doubt about it. We'll meet again when you found me the world. And
Oh yeah, we'll find our path will again. I have to ask you because I always like love to talk about what we drink about what we're drinking. But
mhm.
what do you have today for your drink of choice?
My drink of choice is water with electrolyte because it's very, very hot outside and mommy is breastfeeding. So I
uh,
need to, yeah, hydrate myself. So I usually I drink always coconut water, but I chose water with electrolyte to, yeah, kick it in. What about you?
Kick it in.
Hmm.
Well, I years ago when we first started traveling, we found this tea when we were just like going through India. We didn't even get out of the airport. We just started hanging out in the airport, and I found this tea, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing!" And recently, I just found that they like it's all over the world. Apparently, you can order it, and so I got some of the tea that I got 6 years ago. So it's actually Marcella chai with a little bit of honey in it,
Mm,
and it's
mm.
so good. I think it's TWG tea. It's so incredible. They have literally hundreds of teas, and well, this one just kind of has a special spot in my heart. So I was like, oh, today this is perfect.
Oh, beautiful. Well, cheers, my friend.
Cheers. Oh man. Mm.
And I love
Well,
the
as
mug.
we,
You always have beautiful plates, beautiful mugs.
oh,
I like it. It's beautiful.
I got this from an artisan in Glasgow actually, and I took a pottery class with
Mm,
him. So actually, this is one is not mine, but I
I
have one I made
remember.
similar to it.
Well,
Yeah.
did you post a story about it?
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
the one? Yeah, that's it. I remember. So,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah. That looked fun.
Oh, it's so good. I'm like, this is the year for trying new things. Sometimes I feel like
Mm,
I get stuck in, you're just
mm,
doing life with, not that we're not doing new things, but for myself to go and do something for myself on my own. So I was like, always wanted to
mm.
take pottery classes. Like, this is my time. It was down the street from us. I'm like, I need to do this. So I did it. It was so much harder than I thought it was going to be. I was like, oh my gosh, you have to have your whole body into that. Like, you are in the wheel and you are like, he does it so perfectly. And I'm like, oh man, this is just so much trickier than it looks. But
I feel like
it's
it's
such a good
always like
time.
that with anything, and like you see someone that has been doing something for years, like that looks easy, and then you try like, oh, not that easy.
I'm like, I'm gonna make my own plates. I'm gonna make my own bowls. I get in there, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much harder than I thought. But it was such a good time. I had a good laugh, and ended up doing one-on-one classes, so I was able to take in a lot of
Mm,
knowledge in a short amount of time. It was really good. But yeah, the year for trying some new things. But without further ado,
mm,
the question that
mm,
always comes up in these conversations is like, I mean, and I feel like I say this every time, but I do feel like, especially talking to you, there's probably so many moments as we've talked about in your life, like just with starting your business during the pandemic, which that could be an entirely different
mm,
episode, and all these things.
mm,
It's like there's just so many beginnings, like new beginnings. So like that
mm,
changed everything.
mm,
So like the question's kind of big, and it's kind of like, whew, this could go anywhere.
mm.
But yeah, I'm excited to see where this will unfold and where it will take us. But is there a time when you can reflect in this moment that you think, no, this is the time. This is the time when everything changed for me.
Mm. This is, as you mentioned, such a deep and large question. At the same time, when you send it over to me, I'm like, oh, that's something that I can see a lot of parts of my life that I feel like everything has changed. And yeah, we could be doing 20 episodes about each of them. And it got me thinking about being able to share a story that a lot like no one really knows about it in my entourage, at least. Um, my husband, my partner, is the one that I share it with. But the moment for me that really everything changed health wise in my life, really for my body, for my happiness, complete happiness, was really when I found a healthy relationship with food. Coming from a background of eating disorder in my like when I was a teenager and early 20s, I felt like I had this bag and heavy on my shoulders, and that was kind of my the shadow in my life that was preventing the pure light to just arise. And I've been keeping it for myself so long. And the moment that I really tapped in the feeling of having that good relationship. You know how having a good relationship with your spouse or your family is so important. And a relationship is not just with human beings; it's also with your body. It's also with the food that you eat. And shifting when I was able to shift the mentality that I had towards feeding my body healthy nutrients and not providing it from all those healthy nutrients to like a flower. It needs water. It needs all all the things that are in the soil to nourish the flower to be beautiful and to expand and to grow. The minute that I shifted that belief, that's where everything changed in my life. That I was seeing clearly, that I was feeling so good and relieved and happy in myself again, that I did not need to hide a part of me, that I could fully embrace life as it is. So for me, sharing this with a large audience that I don't know is
Mm-hmm.
a big milestone, first a big milestone for myself, but also with the intention of if just one person can listen to this and not feel alone as I was feeling. I remember so much alone in this. I thought that I was the only person in the world doing this to myself and having that twisted belief. And my intention is really to be able to share it so someone or many people can just relate and feel like, oh, you know what? There's light. There's a place where I can be with this healthy relationship with nourishing my body with this beautiful and amazing food that has been put on this planet to be able to feed herself and live. So
Mm.
that's my answer.
Wow.
Mm,
Wow, that is, I feel like there's so many, when you talk about that, I feel like I can see like a tree and there's just so many branches that it's like, how
mm,
did you get to like where the tree was fully in full bloom? And so
mm-hmm,
if you feel comfortable with going backwards a little bit, because
mm-hmm,
it sounds like you came into this full bloom of like aha and wonder and love for your body, your home. But
mm-hmm,
at what point, it's interesting when you see children grow, like, when you see your kids, like I remember my kids playing with their belly button and all of their rolls and just being enamored with like their body, right? There's no like I
mm-hmm,
shouldn't be something. You just they're just enamored
mm-hmm,
with it. And
mm-hmm,
I remember myself feeling like that as a child too, just being like, and then there's this point where you see things differently, and it can become very skewed by people that are around us, by the influences that are around us, by the women we look up to, by our peers. And I think that so many women can identify with what you're talking about. So I'd
mm-hmm,
love to go back to like where that began for you,
mm-hmm.
when that started to shift for you, and if you remember, um, where there's some pillaring moments in that time where it was like this was the beginning of where this started, and kind of
Mm-hmm.
uh, walk through that if you feel comfortable.
Yeah, yeah, I do. Uh, it's funny because I started to make that work of rewinding and trying to dig a little bit deeper to really understand where it was coming from. And I guess it was not like one single maybe moment, but of course it was, as you mentioned, you are a kid and you're just playing with your belly button without thinking anything about what you look, what you're, how you just want to play. You just don't have this extra layer. You're just in the like in the present moment. You are innocent and you just living, which we should all be doing.
Mm.
But nowadays, I feel like with all the pressure from social media, from also what happens with the kids around us. When I was in high school, there was sometimes like things that were said that could trigger my mind. Also, I am someone that is very disciplined in my life. I love to excel at what I do. I love to stand out from what I'm pursuing, and which is a beautiful part of me, I believe. And I think that this characteristic of myself brought it to another level when I was in high school, where I was thinking if I need to stand out from everyone else, and by doing this, I need to not do like everyone else. I need to be very drastical to myself or whatever. I was thinking this is the place I can have control. So preventing myself from eating, and that's so crazy to think about the fact that just this made me I'm really I used to be very ashamed of how I was behaving because I was lying. Obviously, I was lying to my parents, not telling them that that I did eat, but I didn't. Trying to really be very harsh to myself. So I think that there's a lot of parts when in my high school moments that trickle my mind, and I started this journey of okay, no, I'm gonna be super hard to myself and not eating to be able to. And the reason why I was doing this, from again a twisted mind, that in order to succeed, to be loved, to be accepted, I needed to be skinny, which is a, something that is totally made up, totally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was believing this so strongly that I was doing anything that I could to stick to this plan. And that prevented me from social settings. I refused to go to restaurants sometimes because I didn't want to be in this setting surrounding by people. And I'm such a social butterfly. So for a long time, I prevented myself to really arise and to have those moments. And I needed to make peace with myself for doing
Mm.
that, and trusting also that all this journey had a reason to happen and for me to heal that part. So yeah, so having all those not pressured, but I would say influence from outside making me believe so strongly that I needed to be a certain way, and taking my characteristic from being super intense in anything I do
Mm-hmm.
with this unhealthy way of living really made me take a wrong, I don't want to say wrong path. Obviously, it's not a good path, but it's a path that led me now to having a beautiful life, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was kind of the beginning of everything when from day one day I was seeing food as just like, oh, that's good. It's tasting
Mm-hmm.
good, to
Yeah.
then, oh, food, as the minute that I was eating it was bad for me. And it's
Mm.
so weird how your mind process it. It's it's really a journey to unwrap it, to, yeah, unfold it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you remember how old you were when that began for you?
Yeah, I think I was 15 or 16, no, six, yeah, around that. It's really blurry in my mind how crazy
Yeah.
it feels like another life. So in my mind, it's not clear, but it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of blurry a little bit. I can see, I cannot point a finger to like a day, or it just
Yeah.
started, and I feel like my brain was just so fuzzy around it.
Yeah.
But really, like 16, I'm
Such a
like, I would see my 16 daughter, and I would be like shocked to
mm,
see her do it to herself. But yeah, this is, I think, the reality of a lot of young women.
totally. It's like a distorted view of what we're supposed to look like. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's a distorted, and I think it's interesting how you can go from playing with your belly button, which I know there's like a huge gap there, probably 10 years or 15 years of that gap between all of a sudden you're just like, oh, like I'm supposed to be something. I'm supposed to
Mm-hmm.
look like somebody else, or I need to
Mm-hmm.
be smaller, or and then I think what can happen, because I've walked a similar journey later
Mm-hmm.
on in my life where I felt very shamed, and
Mm-hmm.
the shame almost is like it's like you're living in a dark room, and so you don't want to tell anybody because you're ashamed of how you feel, and so this thing just grows and it becomes this bigger thing that can encompass your all your headspace, which does pull you away from the things that you're a very social person and so am I. And you think about, no, I'm not going to go out with people because I don't want to be in a setting where I have to expose the fact that I'm not eating because
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel comfortable in this home, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
way of controlling
Mm-hmm.
how we look in this home. And I think so many people, and I think it's a crazy ride because I think it can be very present in our adolescence, our teen years, and I'm seeing it even a lot in people who are going through menopause, later years. This whole
Mm-hmm.
feeling of it's a conversation that is needed because a lot of women are having the trouble with now their body is changing in a different way. And you think about it, you're going
Mm-hmm.
in your teen years, you're growing into a woman. Like you're the transformer. All of a sudden you have breasts, and you're like, what? And things are happening, and all of a sudden you have hips, and you're like, what? And these things are growing. And then when you're going through menopause, it's like your body is changing again, and the things that you used to
Yeah.
do or activities used to do, it's your body responds differently to those things. So
Mm-hmm.
it's I think this is a very important conversation for all ages, whether
Mm-hmm.
you are just starting life as a teen and going into it, or you are in a transitional stage where your body's like there's another thing happening and your hormones are like on this other roller coaster for different reasons, that it's like our home is just so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And to love her, I think like it's the only home we have,
Mm-hmm.
and yet we spend so much time, even if the words don't come out of our heads. um, I heard someone once say, people think that the words don't come out of their mouth about the negativity about themselves, but to think that the words in your head don't entirely fill your whole body
Yeah.
is a skewed view. And that's what leads
Mm-hmm.
us and leads women to purging or to withholding themselves from food, because the
Mm-hmm.
voices are just a bit overtaking, they're a bit loud,
Yeah.
um, and they lead the path because they're just so noisy
Mm-hmm.
in there.
Yeah. As you said, they take the lead of your action because they are so strong and noisy in your head, and they feel like they have the truth. They feel like this voice feels like I'm gonna I'm gonna lose everything that I created if like I don't know how to express it well, but this is yeah, this voice is no good for yourself, and we trust it blindly, and when you're in
Mm-hmm.
that stage. And I love, by the way, what when we were exchanging in Nicaragua, and you told me um, about the concept of that dark room, and if ever you feel like you're getting back to that black room, you just have that special person in your life that you trust enough to share this part of yourself with, and to at any time ask for light, ask to,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, you said it so beautifully that time. It just kept it, I just kept it in my heart, and that was so powerful to me. And another thing that I want to share is because I've been always like the observer, seeing some of the women share about this past of eating disorder, and someone that I was seeing on the social media that was training, and once opened up about it. I'm like, oh, I'm not. She's also gone through it
Mm-hmm.
and is sometimes going through it again. And the way that she said was, having a healthy body is not about being skinny, it's about functioning. So when your
Mm-hmm.
organs function, it's when you're able to walk, it's when you're able to dance, to move, to speak, when you're able to see. Having a body that is functioning is the way of being healthy and feeling good in your home, feeling good in your body, and being coming back to that essence of intuition. Your body is giving you a signal that you're hungry. That means that it needs food. That's it. That's
Mm-hmm.
as simple, but we complicate it so much because we want to look a certain way. We want to have control, but there's really few things that we can have control in this life. So better flow
Mm-hmm.
with the things, and just yeah, just trust enough. If someone is living this situation, trust enough someone that is close to you to just open up. I think that this is the first step to really get to the path of healing, and seeing light again from that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think I remember our conversation that day and we were talking about that. And I've oftentimes talked with that, my kids about that, or friends, or, even with my own spouse. And it's when you have something that, whether it's depression or whether it's whatever it is, whether it's just pain you're going through physically or mentally, or eating disorders or whatever it is, it's like if you can find a safe space in your world, whether it's a
Mm-hmm.
counselor or whether it's a spouse or a friend that is responsible and can hold space for you in a healthy way, um, I think getting the things that are stuck sometimes feel stuck here, like we're living in this dark room. It's like putting a candle on in the room when you tell
Mm-hmm.
somebody. It's like that darkness can't absorb all of you anymore because there's a
Mm-hmm.
light in the room. And so there's no
That's
longer a
it.
reason to sit alone in the darkness,
Mm-hmm.
because once the light is there, like light takes over, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't allow darkness to fully inhabit the whole space. So I think, yeah, I remember back to that conversation, and I had that conversation with one of my kids the other day. I was like, talking about these things, it puts light on in a dark
Mm-hmm.
room and allows you not to stand
Mm-hmm.
alone, and to know that you're not alone. And that's the thing about it. I think
Mm-hmm.
when we stay in our dark spaces, we think we're only one that's going through it,
Yeah.
and because nobody is talking about it with us because they have no idea. And so it feels
Mm-hmm.
like we're battling this thing that's so obscure and so
Mm-hmm.
crazy and wild and weird that we're the only ones in it, when actually, like, no, like what you went through, I went through, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And how many
Yeah.
women that are listening today have been like, no, I've gone through that. I have a really hard time loving myself. That's a very common thread, sadly, in our society, of women especially.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said earlier, to be reminded, like, I think I've walked through these gratitude spaces, and I think you and I even went through. It's like, thank you, feet, for every place you've taken me, every step I've taken, every
Mm-hmm.
floor I've walked on, and then thank you, legs, for letting me jump and climb and kneel, and arms for letting me
Yeah.
hold my kids and loved ones, and eyes for seeing, and my nose for smelling. Like, there is so many things that are external, not to mention the internal parts of us that keep us running, that heart that keeps beating,
Mm-hmm.
without us thinking. And we're sad, happy, mad. This little heart just keeps going. It's
Yeah.
like the body is just magic. And I think we lose sight of
And,
that like very early on.
and
Sorry, go ahead.
can we tell about also the fact that it's reproducing, we can reproduce ourselves,
Yes,
that we can create
exactly.
life. I mean, women can create life, and not only create it, then feed it. Like, that our body is
Mm-hmm.
able to do that is just extraordinary. Is the most beautiful thing on the planet. And why
It
would
is.
you prevent yourself to get that water and those nutrients to be able to, as when we talked about the tree or the flower, that for that flower to bloom, to have those colors, it is so powerful to see your, when you open your eyes and you finally see your body as it is. And I think that I shared with you, when we were in Nicaragua, that the moment, the haha moment that I had, where I could finally see that my power was not in what I do, but in who I am. And that takes a lot of courage to show up as who you are. And those, it's little, like little action that you do day to day to tap in your truth, and who, and loving, and giving your entire self to this world, and really shine your light. And the entire reason why I decided to pursue my yoga path was to tap in my feminine energy, to be able to lead and to give of my life to others, and to just make everyone realize that your heart is beating in your chest. You're able to move, you're able to express yourself. You have this moment for yourself, loving yourself. Just that first step. We give love to others in our day-to-day definition. Love is like, oh, I love you. I love this. I love, but
Mm-hmm.
starting with yourself, loving yourself is so powerful.
It really, really
You
is. And it
think,
changes
yeah.
your perspective on things.
Mm-hmm.
So you went through this journey at 16, and at what point did you feel like you were able to climb out of
Mm.
that darkness and walk towards a healthy relationship with yourself?
It took a while. It really took a while for me. I think that it was pretty intense when I was in my teenage, and then my early 20s as well. I think I, at one point, I never told anyone. I think the first person that I told was my partner when I was um 27, I think. But I, through those years, it kind of fade a little bit away by itself, but was coming back time to time. But it was not the main. When it started, it kind of felt like it was the main thing in my life, because it was that giant ball of shame of, like, the room was so dark, the feeling of like my heart beating, that if any at any point someone finds out, in my mind I'm like, oh my gosh, what are they gonna think of me? Like, the shame, the judgment is, it had taken over. So from those years I never told anybody, but it started to get a little bit better because I was on other purposes. I think I was maturing a little bit, but it still was not quite healed to the bottom of it. And I think that the moment that I always told myself, I'm gonna one day tell Eric, I'm gonna one day tell Eric. And I kept on giving him like little tips, saying to him, one day I'm gonna tell you something. And I made it like as a big thing. And in his mind, like, did you kill somebody? He thought he was like so. And I remember we were at his cottage and we were sitting on the floor. I'm like, and I've been thinking over and over, okay, I'm going to tell him. Okay, I'm going to tell you. And I think it took an hour to finally tell him. And when I told him, like, oh yeah, I quite knew that probably that happened in your life. Like, oh, that's it. You kind of put it as it was not that big of a deal, when for me it was that big of a deal, just saying it to someone. And I was quite healed, but not, as I mentioned, totally. I still had some time to times, dark moment, binge or things like that that was unhealthy. But sticking with him, I think that he was, I will say, I would call it my savior, because
Mm-hmm.
see, like, being so connected with him, in tune with him, and he led the path of fully being able to train, but not being, because I was training so hard to myself. In my mind, I was like, I need to be hard on myself. I need to
Mm.
beat me up whenever I have a training. And when I was seeing him act, I'm like, oh, you're training hard, but like good for your body. You're taking rest to be good to your body. You're eating food to put food in your body to, so all this. And he is the most healthy person I know. I mean, he is so like not only physical shape but mental shape, and it's really shifted as well. So I think that the full healing for me when was when I it was a process. It was not one day. I think it's everything is a process. It and
Totally.
the process with him of really having that, okay, I need to nourish myself, and the food that I'm seeing in my plate is really to is not harming myself, it's good for
Mm.
myself. So from all those years with him, I think I finally could just, like as I mentioned at the beginning that we were talking, that
Mm.
heavy pack sack, that heavy
Yes.
thing that was on my shoulder, I could just release it. It's not part of me anymore. It's in my past. And
Mm.
I remember, it's a small moment, but it's a very important moment in my life. I was time to time, like I was training, and then I was eating a good meal, and I was keeping it, and I thought, oh yeah, yes, I'm on a good path. I'm like, now it's the day. I'm gonna keep up with this. And I remember being in a steam room alone, talking out loud. One day I'm going to talk about this being in the past, and it's finally that day today. Being able to speak about it,
Wow.
and knowing that it's in the past, it's not defining me because it's part of me. It's just part of me to
Mm.
be able to be that better human being. That we are human beings. We're not
Mhm.
supposed to be perfect. Things happen, but to make this thing not be a shadow, but to
Right.
be
Yeah.
me, the light to anyone that sees it as a shadow.
Mm.
If that can
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. Not letting that thing be like a cloud, being like, this is something in my
Mm-hmm.
past that I'm trying to run from that I wanted to ignore, but like, no, that's part of my story. And but it
Yeah.
doesn't define who you are. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't hold anything on you today. Are there
Mm-hmm.
things that you
Yeah.
do or did do like with in your time with Eric? Was there, like sometimes find people will say, well, I started doing this and that helped me change the way that I viewed that, or I started to talk to people or write it down when I felt negative, or was there something, a
Mm.
practice that you implemented that helped you get there, to that space?
Yes. Well, few things. First, the yoga practice for me was really when I could like go do something that I enjoy that brings me life, light, joy, feeling
Mm.
of loving my body.
Right.
Other was, yes, journaling, or I would say even more through my the travels that we started doing, being able to opening up about this to new friends for me was the first step of, oh, I'm able to speak it, to say it in words, and to not have it as something that has the power on me, that I have the power on it, being able to
Mm.
speak it out. So being able to just meet someone that I feel a good connection with, not just like the gardener.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, or if the gardener is nice, maybe. But someone that like I feel like it's a friend, and I could speak. And funny enough, I made a friend here in Tulum that
Mm.
I started to open about it, and she's like, "Yeah, me too. That's actually why I decided to be a nutritionist and to do this and that." I'm like, "Wow, when
Wow.
we can just open it up, we just feel the sense of community and like, oh, I'm not alone. I'm not crazy. I'm not. I don't need to be that ashamed of myself." So having those healthy habits, really shifting a bad habits to good habits and putting the focus on the good habits is just
Hmm.
transforming everything.
Wow. Wow.
Hmm.
So letting, it's kind of like what we said earlier, though. Like, it's like when you let people into that space, it no longer could control you or keep you in a space of
Mm.
shame. You let people
Yeah.
sharing that, and so interesting, Dominique, because I feel like when I think about Naked and what this is about, it's to create space like that. It's to create people a space for people to go, oh, like I'm not alone. Like I'm someone else went through it too, and they're on the other side, you know. And so it gives people hope to go like, oh, I can get through this. Like I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's parts of what they take from that to implement into their own life to go, oh, okay, like I need to communicate with somebody
Yeah.
to share where I'm at. And I think there is something so beautiful about sharing our stories that builds bridges we didn't even know needed to be there. You know,
That's
it's
so
like this
true.
person that you, it's like connecting on
Mm,
that very vulnerable topic and being like, yeah, me too. It's like there's a connection right away and you can understand each
yeah.
other in a way that is bonding in like a heart level. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what we need more of in life is those more
Mm-hmm.
hard connections so that we're not going through something alone. You know,
Yeah.
that there are so many things that we keep tucked neatly in our hearts because we don't know how to share them or there's not a place to share them or it feels scary or vulnerable. But I feel like in sharing those things you realize, oh, like I'm not alone and people have gone
Mm-hmm.
through this, come through it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not weird. It's
Yeah.
part of being human and what we go through and being real with your story allows people to feel like they can connect to you. And one day when Livia Rose is older and things, it's like I feel like with parenting, it's I'm very open with my kids. I'm like, yeah, me too. I've been there. Don't worry about it. You're nothing wrong with you. You know, like it's
Yeah.
all good. You know.
I'm just gonna add a little soul to our
Oh,
conversation
do
because
it.
Daddy needs to go give his class. He's giving a breathwork and ice bath class.
Oh,
So
nice.
she's
That'll
gonna
be
join us.
cool. She's so cute.
Yeah.
Oh, what a
You wanna
little.
say hello? Hello, Tati Janelle. Uh,
Hello.
yes.
She's so cute.
And I remember, oh my gosh, I remember two things that is so. I just want to share that when I we first met, and I told you, oh, I just really like wish to get pregnant, and I was yes, that was like also something that I wasn't sure if I could, knowing that I've been so hard on myself for years with my body, not treating it well. Like I lost my period at one point. And I don't know if it was because of this or I was into the nightlife, so I was my circadian rhythm was totally off because I was living by night and I was not nourishing myself well, and yeah, so I did not have any of like my period coming up, and I remember being in that scary city of so scared. What if what I did to myself prevent me from having kids? Wow, that would
Mm,
be like the worst thing. But the body heals, the body forgives, the body
mm.
is just so magical, and yeah, and being able to then in Nicaragua get pregnant and find out the very last day before going to the thorn and being able to share it with you on that very last night when you host us with all the family. That was one of, if not the best time like moment of my life. I mean, it's in the top five. Like having her, obviously it's a lot around her, and also the magic. And you, Janelle, are so special. You're such a pure light, and you truly was the best thing that happened to us when we were in Nicaragua. You're seeing your family traveling and your beautiful words and how you express yourself, how you create a space with us. Sorry. And I remember you offering us a massage to Eric and I one night, and that we were at your place, and you said so many beautiful words that I was in tears. I was like crying, literally, not a beautiful cry, like I was like shaking my mouth. I remember, and you gave us the best massage, and at the end you asked us to pick a card on the deck. And funny enough, because I don't know how many cards there is in that deck, but Eric and I, took the same card on that deck that has a woman with a baby. And I did not know, but at that moment I was pregnant because
Mm-hmm.
it was in November and I was pregnant. So that's just magical.
That was
Yeah.
such a magical time. Oh, man. We just, yeah. We just love you guys. We actually watched that video many times of you telling us and being like that excitement and being able to share that moment with you guys. That's such
Yeah.
a huge highlight. Hello, sweetheart.
Hmm. She's
Oh,
very vocal now. She's like, she did I told you that she says mama?
aw.
Not on demand, but it comes
Yeah.
sometimes to times. Mama, mama.
Such a cute
She's
heart.
super happy to see you. Cannot wait for you to meet her.
Oh, I can't
Yeah.
wait to meet her too. Before
Mm.
we close, I just have a
Yeah.
question to ask you. If there is like somebody that was going through what you went through, say 16, 20, 23, even in their 30s, um, would there be something that you would tell them? Maybe like something maybe you would tell your younger self that you didn't know then,
Mm.
that you know now.
Yes. Uh, First, this does not define yourself. It does not define you. And the second is just tell one person. Just that you trust enough, that you feel comfortable with. Just open the door for that light to come in and just seeing as step by step. You don't need to see it as needs to needs to be healed yesterday. Like you go through the process. Everything in life is a process. Everything is a
Hmm.
process. Every beautiful thing is a process, and you don't need to blame yourself or give yourself the narrative that uh, this is bad, but it can turn out good. It can turn out with a special intention and a special meaning for someone else or for yourself. It can brings you light to another level that you don't even know it yet.
Mm, that's beautiful. Thank you for that. That's like, I feel like there's things that with time, we grow knowledge and wisdom about what we didn't know at the time, and then we can reflect back and tell our younger self or somebody who's maybe going through something that we didn't know. And it can be the lifeline, literally can be
Yeah.
the lifeline that keeps us going. So I think that's really, really good. Something people can hold on to and yeah, do tell someone, put that light in the room and don't stand alone in it. There's power in having people hold you in those moments for sure.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you so much for being here. If there's something in your life, and I'm sure it's probably the little one sitting on your lap, but I love hearing what is bringing people joy. I think joy is something that
Mm.
we often overlook or we don't talk about. It's just like it just passes us. And I think I would love to know what is the thing that is bringing you the most joy in this season of your life, and it might be the little one sitting there.
Mm. Well, of course, Livia Rose is most definitely giving us a bigger purpose because I feel like before her, we still had like a beautiful life, and now with her is just that extra topping of beautiful. Um, but for me, true joy as well as her, it's life, her life, but life in general. Life is so beautiful, so bright, so expansive, so abundant that everything is possible. Just that feeling of everything is possible, not knowing what's going to be our next chapter, excite me to like the core of my being excited about everything that's going to happen. So that is just like giving me so much hope and joy.
Moments like that bring so much joy. Aw,
Oh, oh, that
that's
little one is
beautiful. Thank
something.
you so much for being here, both of you. It was so nice to have both of you here today. I'm glad I got to see your little cute self.
Yeah.
Aw, and
And
thank
you
you.
see, Boo Boo, being courageous, always being
Yes.
courageous to share. This was for me something very courageous to be able to share this story.
And
Yes.
you never know who you touch and who you inspire and who you help along the way.
Yeah.
But it's incredible that you're here, and I'm so glad. And thank you for taking the time in the midst of life and the busyness and everything with being a mom and working and everything like that. I really, really honor and feel grateful to have you here. And thank you for sharing your story with all of us.
Mm.
I'm really, really grateful. And
I'm
again,
the
I'm
one that
glad.
is grateful to have a friend like you.
Oh. No, I think our lives found each other for a reason. And I think we'll always kind of be a part of each other's story in some capacity.
Yeah.
So I love you guys, and I'm sending you
Love
so
you
much,
too. Yeah.
so many hugs, and hope we
So
can
many
stay
hugs your
together.
way too. To everyone in the family, please tell everyone
I
that we
will.
love them and we miss them. And eat some
Oh,
gelato for us.
oh, I will. I will. All
You'll
right. I
tell me
love
all
you
about
guys.
Italy on the next call.
I will. I love you
Yeah.
so much. Sending you a big hug. Mwah. Take care.
And kisses,
Love
boo.
you.
Kisses. Kisses.
Bye. Our bodies. Sometimes we don't pay attention to our bodies until something is wrong or we see something we don't like. Noise bounces around in our heads, leading us far from the awe and wonder of our beautiful bodies that give us a home. There is a mental shift that takes place when we find gratitude. It changes our perspective and what we focus on. So every day this week, choose one part of your body. Take a few moments and think of all it does for you and say thank you. Be specific. Say thank you, hands, for holding and creating. Thank you, eyes, for seeing the world in all of its beauty. Thank you, body. It might feel like a small action, but it'll draw you towards the inner workings of you, the magic that makes all of you, you. We've included a guided gratitude practice. You may find this helpful in finding gratitude for your body. Feel free to use this as often as you like. Today, take a few minutes to thank your body. Often it's easy to see what we aren't instead of all that we are, comparing, measuring, leaving us feeling empty and depleted. But gratitude, it allows for new things to be highlighted. So today, notice the wonder of your body and the ways it allows you to experience movement, taste, and smell. There are so many happenings on the inside and outside of your body. So find a spot, a quiet spot. Maybe lie on your mat, nestle on the couch, or sit within nature and close your eyes. Take a deep breath, feeling your belly rise with your inhale and fall with your exhale. First, thank your feet. For a moment, think about all the places they have taken you. Wiggle your toes. Feel them. These feet have walked amongst the forests, on sandy beaches. From your playful younger years to the bustle of life, they keep moving. They have felt the dirt. They know the squishiness of wet grass. Your feet, they have taken you every step of your journey, and every day they continue to. Thank your legs. They might be long or short, but they give you your height. They allow you to stand tall, to kneel, to sit at your dining table. They jog and play leapfrog. They move, climb, and skip. Those are your beautiful legs. Thank your hands for allowing you to create, to bake, to hold a hand. They write lists, they tell stories. They hold the steering wheel, they clap, and they wipe tears. Your body works together in harmony, giving you all that you experience. So thank your arms. They hug and squeeze, they hold babies. They lift boxes and haul wood. All the ordinary ins and outs of life they do for you. Thank your eyes for noticing the leaves changing color. They capture the beauty in a smile. They see butterflies flutter. They show emotion welling up with tears. They cry. Thank your nose. It smells fresh baking. Takes in the air around you, telling you that seasons are changing. It lets you know when your toast is burning and when your coffee is perked. Thank your ears for hearing rainfall and the sounds of birds chirping, for hearing the front door open and the bustling noise that follows. They know rhythm and beats, and hear whispered I love yous. Your beautiful body unique in its own, and it's your home. So thank your heart for beating, because it beats 100,000 times every day. And it's been beating before anyone knew it was. Through tears and laughter, when your heart aches and palpitates, when you run and while you sleep, when you sip your morning tea, while you walk the aisles at a grocery store, when excitement explodes out of you, it beats. When you dance and sing like no one's watching, it beats. While you scrub the dishes and wash the floor, your heart is beating. In the midst of all the highs and lows and everything in between, your body hums, making you, you. So when you hear words swirling in your mind, telling you what you aren't, be sure you whisper back, telling yourself all that you are, because you are magic. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your podcast goodness. This way you'll never miss out on any future episodes, plus it really helps us. And if you want to share your favorite episode with a friend, that would be absolutely incredible. This goes a long way. If you'd like to join Naked by sharing part of your story, just leave us a message on Instagram or email us at nakedwithjanelle@gmail.com. Also, a big thanks to my son, Mikkel, who is the best cheerleader and maybe one of the biggest believers in Naked, and also produces and edits all our podcasts. I am beyond grateful for him and very aware that I couldn't do this on my own. Thank you so much for tuning in and for being here.